It has passed the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2026 without sharp division. Now at the center of the dispute is Clause 63, the provision addressing the electronic transmission of election results. The clause allows for manual transmission using Form EC8A if electronic upload fails due to network issues. When put to vote, 55 senators supported retaining the manual fallback. Now, for reform advocates, the fallback provision is a loophole that could be exploited. For lawmakers, it is a practical safeguard against technical failure in rural or network-challenged areas. The question remains, is it flexibility or vulnerability? We'll take a look at that plenary session with the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, at the session. We'll be back after.
Yeah, you stand up on your seat and you also raise your hand. So if you are in support that the proviso, which enables the presiding officer to proceed to the next center for collation with the hard copy of the signed Form EC8A, so that collation can continue. If you are in support that the word proviso remains to enable the presiding officer to do so after imputing all the items, can you rise and raise your hand so that the public can see you? Come and count. Only raise your hand. Don't open your mouth. Raise your hand. Stand up, raise your hand. Don't open your mouth so that the public can see you. Because the social media must see you. Now, we don't want to see those who are insisting that if it does not, we want to see those who are saying if the transmission or communication fails, that the election stops there. Those opposed to the proviso, can you now stand up and raise your hand? Count. The results are as follows. Those who do not want any proviso are 15 in number. And those who want the proviso are 55 in number. And so the proviso says,
good morning, Nigerians, and welcome to Morning Pulse right here on Active Citizens. My name is Ifoma Oji, your host for the morning. And joining me this morning via Zoom, I have the activist, Randy Peters. Good morning, sir. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm very well. It's a pleasure being with you today.
Same here. And equally joining us via Zoom, we have Mr. Oladimeji Oluwafemi, who will be joining shortly. But joining me live in the studio, I have a guest, Miss Genevieve Okeke. Good morning, Miss Genevieve. How are you?
Good morning, Informa.
All right. Oh, you sound quite, dull this morning. What's going on?
Nigeria is already dull, but the spirits will be up.
Oh, definitely. Let's fire it on. Now we still have Mr. Oladimeji Oluwafemi joining us via Zoom. Good morning, sir. And how are you doing this morning?
Good morning, Ifeoma. Good morning, guys in the studio. I'm doing very well.
How are you
Okay.
guys doing?
We are great.
Fine,
Great to
thank
hear.
you.
All right, let's move straight to the stories making rounds on social media this morning. So the protest, we saw what was going on or what went on earlier, but I'm starting now with the video that we just saw right now, which was the plenary session where Goswe Akpabio was asking the senators to vote, and at the end of the day he was saying that the people, the media should show the vote of the people so that the people in the socials can see clearly that it was actually the eyes that have it. And joining us in the conversation this morning also, I mean, it's a full house this morning. We have Mr. Damola Adebayo joining us via Zoom. Good morning, sir. Good to have you here. Good morning, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you. Good morning. Good morning. Nice to be here. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Ademola Adebayo is a guest from UK joining us on the course of this conversation this morning. So it's definitely a full house. But let's go straight to the stories now making rounds on social media. And I would love to have your take first, Mr. Randy Peters, on the video that we just watched right now in the plenary session led by the Senate President Goswe Akpabio. What do you make of the plenary session?
Thank you very much for having me. Look, at this point, let us just be very clear. It is up to Nigerians to decide and to unite and end the APC reign of terror over Nigerians, or APC will be the end of Nigeria as we know it, with a democracy that is still in the making. What we have today we call government is organized criminality, and Nigeria has become an open crime scene. Institutions that are supposed to serve the welfare of the people have been captured and weaponized against the people. So what we have today is a captured assembly. If President Tinubu asks the Senate and House leadership to jump up, the question will be, how high does he want them to jump?
Exactly.
These are people who are supposed to sit down to think of how to make laws that will enable people to get a transparent, free and fair process. But it has degenerated to the point because they know an unpopular ruling party, the only confidence they have and assurance to re-election is through a rigged and a criminal electoral process. And that is why we are where we are today. The entire session became very rowdy. You saw from the House. Before today, we already, if you follow the videos I put online,
yes,
we had already said it, that there was pressure on this House of Reps to rescind their own bill and adopt the Senate version, which does not carry mandatory real-time electronic transmission of results. And you saw the revolts in the House of Reps, where lawmakers were on record, on video, singing APC only, APC
yes,
only.
We'll still
and
play
then you
that
now saw the
video.
shenanigans that took place in the Senate. As
Right.
it is today, the question will be, who is afraid of free and fair elections? The APC and Tinubu boast of having more than 30 governors. They have the judiciary, they have every law enforcement, they have the military. Even INEC is an unofficial electoral wing of the APC. You have city girls and township boys, you have everything, renewed hopelessness group and all of that, both in Nigeria and abroad. Yet, the APC is afraid of one clause, mandatory real-time electronic transmission of results. Because that provision that was passed in the Senate is a provision, is a clause of mischief. It is where manipulation begins from EC8A form. And that is why Nigerians must unite and resist this kind of bill, because it only guarantees one thing. They will tamper with the network on elections day, and at the end, you will have even more glitches than what was seen in 2023. This is a document that cannot serve the interest of Nigerians and must be rejected.
All right, well said, Mr. Randy Peters. But before we continue on this conversation, I would love us to take a look at the controversy which did not end on this entire on this electoral bill of 2022. Now, in the Senate, the House of Representatives. Now, the tension boiled over. During an emergency plenary session, Honorable Francis Wave moved a motion to rescind parts of the amendment for the reconsideration. Now, lawmakers shouted nay The speaker ruled in favor of the ayes. The chamber erupted. What followed was an executive session, closed-door deliberations, and I would love us to take a look at that videos, because clearly the nays have it, but what was passed was the ayes having it. So we'd love us to take a look at that plenary session, and when we come back, we'll have a full-on conversation on that. Was quite a rowdy session in the National Assembly yesterday, where some part of the National Assembly, which is the House of Reps, was actually agitating for the e-transmission of electronic results. And what we saw that was later passed as the bill is now the one that has a clause, and the clause we are talking about here is a situation whereby there is no form of electronic transmission, or rather there was network glitches, that they can go ahead, umpires of elections can go ahead and use the manual collation of results, or the manual collation of results, and which even the social media has been awash as regards this. And while all this was going on, the protest did not end there. We had citizens of Nigeria outside the National Assembly still protesting for this same electronic transmission of results. So now, Mr. Oladimeji Oluwafemi, I would love you to throw in your weight on the course of this conversation this morning. First, the plenary session, which was championed or led by Senate President, and how he was saying that people should vote so that the socials can actually see what's going on, so that when the ayes have it, we wouldn't say that it wasn't kind of unanimous with the House. And then the second video that we saw, where the ayes, the nays were supposed to have it at the end of the day, but it was the ayes that had it. You could see that putting it side by side, or if you just oppose that, you could see that it's clear that these people, to an extent, some Nigerians will say, are fighting for their own interests and not for the interest of Nigerians. Do you consent to that, sir?
Absolutely, in no unequivocal terms. If there is no, reasonable human Nigerian currently, if there is any word, if there is any person like that, as it were, in this country now, because personally, I am yet to see myself as a Nigerian, because right now, I am completely without my rights within a space, that is governed by law, in quote. First of all, let me greet my fellow guests on this program. Mr. Adebayo, good morning to you, and my dear brother Peter Aka. Well done, dear comrade and fellow comrade, for standing the barricade and remaining resolute as what you do. Posterity will be kind to you, my brother. Back to the conversation, Ifeoma. Look, before now, if you would remember on previous programs, I have often mentioned that one, Akpabio is an illegal occupant of the Senate. Talk less of becoming the Senate president. In fact, at the time, I raised an argument and I wanted, legal practitioners to weigh in on the matter. Because I asked that question and I said that, look, if Akpabio, according to the laws of our land, the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as amended in 1999, stipulates that once you are involved in a particular primaries in an election period, you are disqualified from contesting any other primaries within that same period. I'm just paraphrasing. Now, Akpabio, having contested primaries and yielding platform, to the current occupant of Aso Rock, went ahead to slug out the ticket, or rather the certificate of return, from the person who originally contested the primaries to become senator and won on the platform of the APC. And today, that same person is the president of the Senate. And of course, when you wear a leverage, a baggage like that, coupled with the baggage that you wore, during your days as governor and as NDC, DDC chair, all of these allegations are still there. I hope you guys remember. I have not forgotten. All of these billions are still, hanging over his head as pendulum after the invite by the anti-grafts. But because he was the first person, let me remind us, that this phrase will be used for, you have joined the APC, go and sin no more. It was on his head that catchy phrase started with. On. So Akpabio has got no other play on his book than to become a leverage and ready-made tool for the head of the executive. And that is what we are seeing playing out right now. As for the representative, Tajuddin is by no means no fit, in the political calculation around these sharks and whales that we have in our current political space. So he is just like what Fela would describe him to be, a zombie in the game. So whenever he's directed, he moves. So one thing is fact here, if you're so that I don't take our time.
Yes.
The only thing that is sacrosanct and that remains is that the people, since the beginning of this anti-panky and shenanigan, have been the one who's been shifting them back on, going plainly and straight with this proviso to remain in the electoral act. And if we let it, if Nigerians let it, we can kiss 2027 election goodbye. Because there will be, according to Erufai, a Wamaridi of Ige.
All right. Well said, Mr. Oladimeji. Thank you for that analysis. But coming to you now, Mr. Damola Adebayo, it's yet unclear to me because earlier the House of Reps were in, they were in for the people. They were supporting the people, which is standing on the amendment of the Electoral Act of 2022, which should be mandatory e-transmission of election results. But how everything flipped over now, and they were taking the plenary session section or clause by clause to amend it. And when it got to section 60, they said that they are retaining the formal bill of 2022, which is now in alignment with the House of Assembly, the National House of Assembly, that is the upper chamber, the Senate House. And I would love your take on that. How did this whole thing come out to, play out in the public? How is it that after saying assenting to the people's will, they now went back to their own will, which is now mandating the former Electoral Act of 2022 as the new bill? Let me have your take on that, sir. Mr. Demola, are you there? All right. I would love us to take a video of the demonstration at the National Assembly where the likes of Randa Peters and the rest occupied the National Assembly. They called it the Operation occupied the National Assembly, and it was more like an uproar. We had uproar in the National Assembly and uproar outside the National Assembly. I would love us to take a look at that video, and when we return back to the studio, we have a full-on conversation where Mr. Randy Peters will be offering, or rather rendering his voice to the cause of this conversation, because I mean, he was leading the protest. Let's take a look.
Very well. Nigerians will not tolerate mischief. We will not tolerate mischief. We will not be held hostage by the National Assembly. The National Assembly must work for the Nigerian people. It will not be weaponized against us. Akpabio, the Senate President, and Tajudeen Abbas must do the right thing. What do the people want? Real-time electronic transmission. From here, this is the People's Parliament. We are going to pass our own bill. And waiting we pass, now waiting them us. Are you ready, Nigerians? If you support the motion, if you feel go down where you go down, so that they go see you well. Nigerians, distinguished Nigerians, are you ready? Honorable colleagues, are you ready? If you support the motion for the movement of mandatory real-time electronic transmission of results, say aye. If you are against it, say nay. Say aye. Electoral malpractice, say your time is up. Election rigging, your time. Vote buying, your time. Electoral rigging, your time. Our vote. Our vote. Our vote. Our vote. My vote. Your vote. Every vote. Every vote. Akpabio. Akpabio. Akpabio.
Vote must indeed count. Now coming to you, Mr. Randy Peters, you led this proposed protest in the National Assembly, and while we had the senators proposing bills or passing bills inside the National Assembly, you were outside passing your own bill with a lot of Nigerians. And I would love to still have your take on that, because it's as if as you were passing your own bill, the senators were passing a control bill to the one you were passing outside the bill. Does it mean that they didn't consent or they didn't listen to the grievances of the people, and that the grievances of the people does not matter in this contest?
Sorry, my network had broken. I didn't hear the beginning of your question.
Okay, I was saying that while the senators were in the National Assembly passing bills, you were outside, you and a lot of Nigerians, in support of the amendment of the Electoral Act of 2022, were outside the National Assembly passing a different bill that is different, of course, from the senators' amendment, as they would call it. But let's talk on that. Let me have your take on that, because it was contrary to what you were passing outside the National Assembly. Does it mean that the senators, when they promised earlier would listen to the grievances of Nigerians, they now went ahead to pass a different bill? Does it mean that they don't listen to the cries or the grievances of the people that went ahead? Some people would say that this is some sort of stomach adjustment program on their own part, because they should be listening to the cries or the clamors of the people. Let me have your take on that and the entire protest that you led outside the National Assembly yesterday.
Let us just be very clear and honest. The 10th Assembly, led by Godswill Akpabio, particularly the Senate, in collaboration with the Tinubu-led APC federal government, has no desire to give Nigerians free and fair elections. So that must first of all be, put to rest or brought to bear.
Okay.
Everything you see the Senate president do there is a script from the presidency. in collaboration with INEC. Akpabio is not ready to pass a bill that will guarantee that the votes of the people will count. First of all, you should ask yourself the question, why has passing Electoral Act Amendment Bill dragged up till 2026? After a glitch election that gave us glitches in 2023, the same assembly was able to change national anthem in one day. If President Tinubu wants to borrow money from OP to clear money points BC and all the debt that they have borrowed, it will not take him 5 minutes. But somehow a bill that will ensure that the vote of the people should count is taking almost 3 years, and we are ending up with a clause that gives us the plan for electoral rigging or for election rigging. So as it is today, the National Assembly, the House of Reps had passed a bill that carries real-time electronic transmission of results. But somehow the pressure came, and then we were supposed to see the House receive its own bill. But some of the federal lawmakers in the Green Chambers insisted, but somehow the Speaker still gavelled for the ayes even when the nays had it. You saw it obviously. And then the Senate, led by Akpabio, which from the onset had never had the appetite to pass anything different, decided to maintain the status quo. So as it all plays out now, you even saw the protest while we were outside. You saw the invasion or the attack on peaceful protesters by the law enforcement. You saw tear gas canisters being sprayed at peaceful protesters. We were chased up to, people ran from the gate of the National Assembly to as far as the Federal Secretariat. We went towards the fence of the Eagle Square, and those canister rounds were still fired at people, even hitting persons, Nigerians who were not even part of the protest. This is to show you that the party, the ruling party, is declaring a war on democracy. There is no appetite for free and fair elections. Nobody should be making excuses. And do not also forget, INEC is not neutral. INEC has the budget of more than 800 billion. Inside that budget, they say 200 billion is for electronic technology. My dear sister, how do you give somebody 200 billion to carry out something and get electronic technology? Yet you pass a bill that says where technology does not work, we should go back to manual. So are you committing money so that the situation or the process will fail and then you go back to manual? So what exactly are we talking about? As INEC explained what in the technology they want to procure with 200 billion. If you want to get Starlink for the 177,000 polling units, how much will it cost? This is sheer mischief. But Nigerians will decide whether we want to make our voices count and our votes count. Because guess what? Until our votes begin to count, our lives will not count. Because votes do not count. That is why more than 100 people can be killed in Kwara and the president will attend the Fish Festival in Kebbi. People will die and it has become normal statistics. Why? Because in Nigeria, power does not come from the people. We must resist this system.
We must definitely resist the system. I mean, this has been ongoing for a long while now, and I love the fact that Nigerians are waking up to this menace and saying no to electoral malpractices. But I'm going to come to you, Mr. Demola. I don't know if you're there. If you're there, please give me the distant notice that you can hear me. Can you hear me, sir? Mr. Demola, are you there? All right, Genevieve, I'm coming to you right now. Now, you saw the protest with the people. You saw how the people were tear gas. Let's talk about that, because there was something that Mr. Showore said. He said during the time that these policemen and women were protesting for their pension and gratuity, he was among the forerunners that ensured that these people's cries were hearkened to. Why is it now that we need these security personnel now to fight for the right of the people, which at the end of the day, if it benefits Nigerians, it will definitely spill over to them? Why is it that they are now fighting against the people and not in the interest of Nigerians?
For you to take away, thank you for that question. For you to take away the bad fruit, you have to cut out the roots. Now, we have lived in a country where when people talk, nothing is being done. When people say their mind, nothing is being done. So you don't expect, we are living in a country where handouts. Nigerians take handouts as okay, let my heart be calmed down. Handouts, because I don't understand why people are protesting for your own betterment as the citizen. You are tear gassing them instead of you to protect them, instead of you to join the protest. You are tear gassing them. It doesn't make sense. We are living in the country where, okay, because I don't like these people, but they are going to give me bag of rice, they're going to give me tomato. Okay, let me take it and just use it. We're done with that. It is high time as Nigerians that we learn to trash that. We don't need it. A bag of rice cannot be equated to one person's life. A bag of rice cannot be equated with the years of no electricity in Nigeria. We are tired of taking handouts. Stop taking handouts where you're supposed to lend your voice, where you're supposed to talk. Do the necessary things. That is your right. That is your right. Because when you look at foreign people, we look at other foreign states, when they know their right, they stand on their right. This is your right as a human being. Stop taking handouts, because I don't understand.
All right, now, Mr. Oladimeji, coming back to you. Well said, Genevieve. Coming back to you, Mr. Oladimeji. Now, if citizens lose faith in Parliament, because clearly we've lost hope in INEC, we've lost hope in ICPC, we've lost hope in EFCC. I mean, all the anti-graft agencies, Nigerians have literally lost, they've tanked the confidence we have in them. Now, if Nigerians should lose hope in the Parliament, where is democracy? Do you think that we are still on the road to democracy, or do you think that we are no longer practicing democracy anymore in Nigeria?
Ifeoma.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, first of all, for that question. But I'm going to rephrase it for my own convenience. And this is how I'm going to rephrase it. Because before I rephrase it, let me give the condition why that question is not fit for purpose. That question is not fit for purpose because right now, it's been over 4-5 months since the National Assembly sang at the chambers, on your mandate we shall stand. And what I know of the principles of democracy, one of the canons, is that in fact, we teach it to children in primary and secondary school, and we call it separation of power, where, the National Assembly serves as watchdog and oversight on every activity of the executive. And when there is a rumble, they have the judiciary to independently interpret the scuffle and settle the matter for who should hold, the rule. But here, look, even during the plenary session of passing this same electronic transmission bill, that by no means should anybody in 2026 be discussing if it should appear in, a act. It's just like we've been ruled by the stone-aged men who transported themselves by some teleportation device into our time just to mess up this time. Because in 2026, before the global nations, you are debating and you are leaving a proviso in an act, in a clause that normally should be your number one priority as the representative of the people. But I think as it stands, Ifeoma,
yes, sir,
there is no faith in the government, not just the parliament. There is faith is been lost, trust is been eroded long ago in the executive. And now, the 10th executive, at least under Bukola Saraki, there were still some semblance of sanity at the National Assembly. But here, we have somebody who publicly dances to the tune of the executive. I've never seen it before. This is the first time. And it means that what this depicts is that there is a collapse of the system and there is a total capture of the social political space. So in this situation, remember, if you are thinking that we are going to be factoring the judiciary, they sank on your mandate, you shall stand as well. Don't forget, at their infestation. So, what is the option left? In the United States of America, sorry, I'm taking much time. In a minute, I'll conclude. In the United States of America, they have this, clause that gives the people the power to take back their country. I think they call it the 10th Amendment. All right, when the state is captured by few men with power. But in our country, we do not have it. But there is always a moral justification for the people, just as Peter said, to stand and insist intentionally that no provision and directly, without ambiguity, that clause 60 be remained as it were, forwarded for review on the Act 2022 of our Electoral Act of IBTC.
All right,
That's
Mr. Ladimit, well said. No, now it's still quite skewed and unclear how INEC is yet to come out and say that they cannot provide e-transmission of electronic result collation for Nigerians, that the National Assembly have taken it more than themselves or taken it up to themselves and crying more than the bereaved by passing the bill that is against the will of the people. Now, I've maintained this stance that it's as if they are working against the people, because they're supposed to be working in responsiveness to the will and agitation of the people. Nigerians are saying no to the manual collation of results. Why is it that the majority is not carrying the vote? But before we still continue on this particular conversation now, Mr. Randy Peters, I would love us to take a look at the video yesterday where the security agencies, the policemen and women were actually throwing tear gas canisters at the peaceful protesters that were unarmed. We'll take a look at that and take a look at Showere's take on how, the entire thing or showdown of canisters or tear gas, panned out. So let's take a look at the video, and when we come back, we have more conversation on the topic.
Tinubu, shame on you! They want to steal our voices. Yes. They want to stop us from talking. Yes. They want to shut us up. We refuse. We refuse to back down. You see that? Nigerian police. We are the people. We are the people. Anytime we want to enter the National Assembly, we will enter it. Yes, sir. Yes. Forget about all this. Nobody can right to stop us. Nobody can right to stop us. Tell your brothers that you are protecting, that they should ensure they pass electronic transmission of results. If not, when they resume on the 24th, we are resuming together in their offices. Yes! We are resuming together. I know, but they said that officially, but they presume. So, and that time, you will either have to follow us or we drag you with us. Yes, because they can't kill everybody. They cannot kill us, huh? These are all police. Now they pay their salary. Now our DSS, now they pay their salary. Yes! And if any one of them is behaved, they will face disciplinary charges. Okay, yes, thank you so much. For abusing their people. Yes. Are you listening to me? Yes. Please. No amount of locking of the gate can stop us. Because you know that when the parliamentarians themselves want to fight over money, they don't have a problem scaling the gate.
Yes. They said they will send email. They said they will send email into their boxes.
Yes. They will send prayer.
They will send prayer. They will send prayer into their
email.
Corruption has killed this country.
It is quite bizarre that peaceful protesters would take to the streets and the security agencies who are meant to maintain peaceful law and order or the peaceful protests are now turning against the people by tear gassing them. And I don't really understand the fact that these people were unarmed, these people were not violent against you, they didn't turn against you, rather you have to tear gas them. Now, Mr. Randy Peters, you were there, you were live when all these things was going on. I would love you to maybe describe how everything, went down. According to Showore, he said that they were poison gas and not tear gas. But I mean, police is supposed to de-escalate a tension or an escalated tension in the public, not escalate it the more. Let's have your description of how everything happened yesterday, sir. Mr. Randy Peters, are you there? Okay, Mr. Oladimeji, I don't know if you heard the question.
Please, can you just phrase it? I heard, but over a long period, I lost the subject of the question. Can you just?
All right, all right, we just saw a video where the police were tear gassing peaceful protesters, and I thought that the security agencies were meant to, be present when we have cases of protests and to ensure that there is law and order during the protest process. But what we are seeing now is, instead of de-escalating the tension in the public or in the protest, rather they were escalating it the more by tear gassing people. According to Shore, he said that they weren't just tear gas, that they were poison gas. Let me have your take on the constant tear gas when we have peaceful protesters, people or the security agencies that are supposed to protect, ensure law and order, turn against the people by tear gassing them or shooting at them, referencing at the incidents that happened at NSAS. Let me have your take on that, sir.
I am so happy that you mentioned the answers, because I was going to begin with that. I was going to remind us that up till today, after the massacre of our dear comrades and the defenders of truth, those who went out in demand for freedom from the feudal lords who currently run the affairs of 230 million people, till today, we still have in the medium prisons, both around Ibadan and Lagos, protesters that were, at random, picked up by police officers, up to today. So, if this is still the situation, then it begs the question that you and I should ask ourselves, are we citizens? So if you can sincerely answer that question, the answers are, within ourselves. It is, unnecessary that we respond to it here. So let's consider it as rhetorical. For me, I do not see myself as a citizen because all my rights nearly has been taken away from me, including my economic freedom. Now, these people who continue to keep themselves in power must insist. Let me tell us a joke that is not a joke. Before Abacha, when Abacha died, after his death, it was reported that every morning, General Sani Abacha will wake up and ask, Major Hamza Mustafa if they were still in power. Now, as funny as this may come across to Nigerians, it isn't a funny statement. And this is why it is not a funny statement. Look, every oppressor and every draconian leader goes to sleep and wake up with the fear of the awakening of the people. And the day it will happen. So they don't sleep well. And that's why you would wake up in the morning to ask if they were still in power. Because there is only one people that ultimate power, original power belongs to and reside with. Either they are conscious of it at part time or not. They are the people. So that is why they say that, look, when the time for the process has come, there is no power of an oppressor that can stand against it. And this is the kind of time that we are in. Talking about the police officers, who just expressly, heed the call of these pharaohs that we have in power.
All right.
Are just people that I describe as, a victim of the system. They must obey the law.
All right.
I mean, they must obey the last order. And at the same time, they are, committing crime against humanity.
All right.
Particularly against their fellow people that they reside in the same community.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Oladimeji, for your take on that particular story. But I would love us to take a look at the video where Showore was expressing, or rather he was describing, how they were tear gassed during the protest. We'll take a look at that briefly and we'll return back to the studio for more conversation with Mr. Randy Peters, of course, because he was live at the incident.
Wherever Nigerians are, we were not tear gas, we were poison gas. We were gas with a poisonous gas. It's not a tear gas. Anybody who will test it, was it tear gas? No. It was a poison gas that was released from the canister that was carried by a policeman who has now run inside. How the fire was saying that they wanted some odorless gas. Maybe this is the best place they want to come and use it. Yes.
I'd like you to also respond. Presidential tenure.
That one is an idiot. They are trying to get rid of, even this 4 years is too long. They are asking for 16 years. Is there anybody in Nigeria who wants to have a 16 years presidency? No. That senator is a foolish man. He should be recalled by his constituents immediately.
So I'd like you to also tell us, this thing that has happened, the Senate is saying they have responded to the grievances by passing both the e-transmission and the manual transmission.
Nigeria is still practicing demonstration or democracy, let me put it that way, democracy, or rather demonstration of craze. Democracy, which is supposed to be by the people, for the people, but it's as if it is working against the people, by the leaders of the people. Now, I'm coming to you now, Mr. Randy Peters. You were live at the protest and you saw how, or we saw on socials, how you guys were tear gassed during the protest process. And I just want to ask you this question. Do you think that let me just put it this way, do you think that were security forces really protecting public institutions, or would you say that they were intimidating citizens? And do you think that this protest policing should be independently reviewed before 2027? Because I mean, we've seen even on NSAS how people were shot, and even up to date we are still asking who gave the order for the shooting, and how we Nigerians have been constantly tear gassed whenever we step out to the street to go and protest for the good cause of Nigeria. And I just want you to tell us what happened yesterday during the protest. How were you guys tear gassed?
Thank you very much. It is an unfortunate situation Nigeria finds itself. As a people, we are in trouble. Nigerians are like people who have been taken hostage, like people who were kidnapped. And instead of us to come together and collectively fight for our rescue or our liberation, we have almost become accomplices to our oppression and our hostage takers. So a lot of us are rather cooperating with our oppressors. When we say that every institution has become weaponized against the people, it includes law enforcement. And unfortunately, there are even greater victims, because at every point when citizens come to agitate for a better welfare and a better life for everybody, they have become willing tools in the hands of criminal politicians. So they attack peaceful protesters in a bid to protect criminals in power who have stolen our collective destinies. So people were there. I was not alone. The protest there, civil society organized, the civil society situation room, Action Aid, the movement for credible elections. There were a litany of Nigerians who came together. There were women that came from different parts of Abuja, even with children on their backs, insisting that their votes should count. And then somehow, at some point, after the press statement, there was a first release of tear gas canisters by the officers who were on ground, because there were some that formed the barricade there. Protesters scampered and then returned back. And then after some minutes, it was now obvious that they had a reinforcement. About 3 Hilux vans, trucks, drove through the other entrance of the National Assembly and started releasing those canisters. This one became more direct. It was shot directly at the people. Those were the ones that kept shooting, even when the protesters had run out away from the National Assembly entrance. They followed them up to the expressway that links the Federal Secretariat. About 3 women had already collapsed. They were rushed into the buses that were around there. And then other people, the new central cameraman, it was a lot. But we still had our determination and we came back. And I told the police officers, this is a country. In 2018, do you know that police officers went to abduct or to arrest a kidnapped kingpin in Taraba? On their way back around Wukari Highway, military officers attacked that convoy, opened fire on it, killing about 3 police officers and a civilian. And guess what, my sister? The kidnapped suspect was able to escape. That is, Nigerian military was able to kill police officer and a civilian, and then the kidnapped suspect was able to escape. My dear sister, define such a country. Define that kind of society. This is a rogue system we live here. I live here. And Nigeria would be great because Nigeria has all of us. The question is the power of the people and the criminals in power, which is greater. We have to prove that.
Well said. Thank you so much for the great description of what happened yesterday. And it was sending chills down my spine that, I mean, like I said earlier, these people were unarmed. How is it that when it is time for fight for Nigerians, when it is time to secure Nigerians' lives and properties in Plateau State, in Benue State, in Kwara State, I mean, of recent, we had attacks where about 172 people were killed, and these security agencies were not there to give succor to the people or reinforce and ensure that there is a military or a police base in those communities. But when it is time to tear gas protesters, that is when you will see them in full display. But still talking on this now, Mr. Oladimeji, I would love to have your take. What do you think now? Because I've seen that the National Assembly is not backing down on the formal bill, which is the Electoral Act of 2022. If they don't listen to the grievances of the people and enact the law, or rather the will of the people, what do you think will happen? Do you see a revolution reoccurring or occurring in 2026, this 2026, before 2027, sir?
Ifeoma.
Yes, sir.
I think it is not a question of do we expect a revolution. The revolution is on already. It is just the combusting of it that we are waiting for. We are just waiting for the eruption of the volcano that this greedy, ruinous class within our political space cannot contend with. That's what we are waiting for. And that's what their greed is leading them to. Because this protest I see, personally, it has been my opinion since the beginning of this shenanigan that, look, I have always been engaging with oppressors from my days in college, university. So I know that, look, the oppressor never in history and at no time, even in future, was and will ever be willing to let you go. So it is left completely at the discretion of Nigerians to decide now. As I said, 2027 is penultimate for Nigerians. It is a year that will decide to remain quiet and silent forever under the Tinubu-led gangsterized social environment. Because what we are going to see play out before our very eyes will be the Lagos template that we have seen, already beginning to play out. So if that is the case, Nigerians, without waiting for 2027, beginning with this section 60, subsection 345, must be deliberate and insistent about it, intentional, that we will not back down. No matter how many canisters you shoot, we will continue to increase in number. And by the time you have done it enough, we will occupy all our state assemblies across the 36 states. After all, these are extensions of the National Assembly.
All right.
Nigerians must decide now, because without it, the election is kissed goodbye, as I said earlier.
All right, well said. It is a fight for our generation right now and our generation unborn, and equally for ourselves. And this fight, the way I'm seeing it, is not ending anytime soon. But Genevieve, last words for the public, and Mr. Randy Peters, I would love your last word, maybe your advice for Nigerians before we close the show. But I'll start with you first of all, Miss Genevieve. Last words.
First of all, I'd want to say something concerning the protesters and what happened yesterday. I want to ask, so the government or the law enforcement agency, they have enough backends, they have fuels in their vehicles to move around, but when it comes to the banditry that is going on, they tell you that they don't have their location, they tell you that there is no fuel, they bring up a lot of excuses, and yet they are able to adequately, immediately, with all effort, to go and tear gas protesters. I'm tired, Ifoma. I'm holding myself because we are on the studio. I want to cry. I'm tired as a Nigerian. I'm speaking as a Nigerian. I am tired. Every day I'm holding my chest on my hand and I'm like, when will all this end? When will I be able to exercise my right as a Nigerian? To what ends? All I can say is, please, our vote must count. Our voices must be heard. No matter how much we are being shut down, our voices must be heard, because it is high time we do something. Just like Mr. Oladimeji said, if nothing is done 2026, it is goodbye for Nigeria 2027.
Mr. Randy Peters, final words, please.
My dear sister in the studio, our thoughts and prayers are with all of us. I want you to know that the average Nigerian shares your sentiments. Everybody, as it is today, Nigeria is a potential victim. What Nigerians do not realize is that today's victims were yesterday's survivors. Tomorrow's victims will be today's survivors. The dead can no longer die. It is up to all of us to agree and say enough. No matter how long oppression over a people may have lasted, once a majority say enough and back it up with action, it will be enough. It is Nigerians who will determine for how long we will continue under this oppression. And I like the beginning of your statement when you were asking, so they have equipment. My dear sister, if you see the front of the National Assembly when there is a protest, you will not believe that your law enforcement have those kind of machinery.
Can you imagine?
If they had that kind of law enforcement deployed to Benue and Kwara, there is no way that terrorists will be able to kill more than 200 citizens or 100 citizens there. But unfortunately, it is a captured state. The law enforcement in the country is meant to protect the wealthy and the rich. That is why out of more than 270,000 police, more than half of them are drafted to protect pastors, politicians, their wives, their children, KPCs, and then the handful is now left to police.
They are not even protecting the citizens.
It is a shame, but as my people go talk, now the way you stand, like cameraman go snap you. Once Nigerians are tired enough to say enough, everybody come out in one voice, it will be enough and it will be game over, because our lives and our destinies is in our own hands. I thank you for this opportunity, and then we'll see some other time.
Thank you so much. Our lives and our destinies lies in our hands and not in the hands of those people that sit in higher places but keep on throwing stones at innocent Nigerians. It's quite sad. I don't even know if I should lend my voice here where I would begin with, because I've sat down here literally every day to tear down whenever I hear that there is an attack in a certain state. It might be Kwara, it might be Plateau, it might be Kebbi, it might be, name them, a lot of attacks. Sometimes I'll wake up, I'll be like, okay, which news am I going to hear today? Am I going to hear that they've killed the rest of Nigerians? What would be the news for today, and it's quite disheartening to keep on giving news or breaking news about all these things. And at the end of the day, we have our leaders all interested in the 2027 election. We had Attack Inquirer where I mentioned that over 172 people were murdered, and the president was not there to provide succor for those people, to give them the hope and to ensure them that this or something like this will not happen. Between the beginning of this year, this is 2026, the president said that when 2026 comes, that there will be zero tolerance to insecurity in Nigeria. But insecurity consistently persisted, and we're asking when. But I think the when is now. Nigerians are united, not minding the denomination, not minding the tribe, wherever you're coming from. It's about the good cause, and it's changing the trajectory which has besieged Nigeria for over decades, more than decades now. And Nigerians are united to say enough is enough. One man, one vote, and our vote must count, and the right time is now. We fight for the good cause now, because when you fight, you get to reap the fruit of your labor, and the fight now is now. We're harvesting now to eat the fruit of our labor in 2026, 2027, and no matter what they tear us out, whether they tear guns at us, they shoot guns at us, or tear gas at us, we will not relent. We'll keep on fighting till the will of the people prevail. But if you're watching for the first time, this is Active Citizens, and this is Morning Pulse on Active Citizens. If you're yet to like, subscribe, and share, please, the time is now. I would love to appreciate everybody that lent their voice, weighed in on the cause of this conversation this morning. The likes of Mr. Randy Peters, thank you so much for making our time to stay with us this morning to discuss whatever or everything that has been happening on the political sphere and Nigeria. Thank you so much for lending your voice to this conversation this morning. And Mr. Oladimeji Oluwafemi, thank you so much for always supporting the cause of change in Nigeria. We see you, we love you, we appreciate you. Genevieve, thank you so much. Just like what Mr. Randy Peters said, our hearts are with us, because it's equally a fight. We cry together, but we equally fight together. Now, till we see you later in the day for more political update or more update on the protests, to have an active morning, and maybe just